Hello there. Tonight's gonna be a late one, but a video I've had to um, make for quite some time because I'm sure it's become an insult in today's society because, well, to be honest, a lot of people are not particularly smart. Let's just be honest. I mean, maybe it's just a localized problem, but I find that most people are not particularly intelligent. But anyway, xenophobia is a topic I have to bring up because I'm sure that is an insult that has been thrown my way many times. And they blame it on ignorance. They think I should unlearn certain things. It's based upon a dislike or prejudice against persons from other countries. And we have to recap on what's going on in the world and what has gone on in the past. Espionage, spies, sabotage. Those are all very real things. Brainwashing of the masses, manipulation through media. These are all real things. They're not make-believe. They're not, oh, this is an obscure word, only some paranoid would possibly be this person, someone we just kind of want to push out of society's way. Actually, you happen to be wrong. And then you go, well, there's no way that, bad people get into the country. Is there? Well, actually, you'd be wrong. And Paul Joseph Watson is a perfect example of a guy who knows how to explain this sort of thing to people so that you could be the dumbest guy on the block and you may just have an edge. But I gotta tell you, man, these people, they come from countries and based on their own history back at their home, wherever that may be, things were different over there than they are over here. They may have relatives that live over there. They may have a cultural bias. And they might be outright, whatever the ruling party is, servants to undermine Western democracy. And I mean, democracy doesn't exactly mean what people think it does. I mean, the people in power, like Justin Trudeau, like really did he, honestly, work from the bottom like any other citizen of Canada to become the prime minister? Do you honestly believe that? Or did he just happen to kind of luck out, go to the right schools, have the right mentors, that kind of stuff that kind of cushioned him into that job? I mean, there was no guarantee he was ever going to get it, but he had hell of a lot better of a chance than you will ever have at becoming prime minister. And he is one, but is he a dirtbag piece of trash? Absolutely. And how the media portrays things is very interesting because there are actually people that believe the kind of garbage that comes out. If you're told enough times that Donald Trump is the most evil man in the world, then eventually you'll believe it. And these are the same lessons that the Nazi Party of the Third Reich used and implemented on the people, and eventually mostly people got along with it. I'm sure it happened plenty of times in years previous. But the problem is it's still continuing to happen, and it's not that it brainwashes people of educated nature and, just being an adult, but it does brainwash the youth, and it etches it into their brains so that in the future, some of their behavioral traits are predictable. And what kind of parties they elect into power, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, hold the phone. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And this term xenophobia, if these people come from a country that's openly hostile towards our country, whether our media admits it or not, I mean, let's not forget that China used to manufacture toys, and probably still does, but manufacture toys that were indeed toxic to people. And especially infants who would have a tendency to put them in their mouths, because they were made of lead and things like that. And then, don't even get me into the frying pan. So yeah, that non-stick. Yeah, that's definitely a good thing for people. What could go wrong? Oh, well, let's just trust a country that doesn't like us, and the representation for our country doesn't really give a rat's ass so long as they make a mint. And, everything's just, biscuits and gravy. And it's like, well, what if I don't believe that? Oh, well, then you're a xenophobiac. You're a recluse. You're a nobody. Get out of society's way. You're fucking things up. Really? Last time I checked, I was just going about my business. Doing my thing. You're the ones making decisions that fuck up people's lives. I know you don't like to think of it that way. I understand that you perceive yourself as this all-knowing, you can't possibly be wrong, almost godlike figure. Except, well, the funny fact is, you're a complete fucking moron. If this is the best propaganda, and I do say propaganda, that the Western media can convey upon us servants, you ain't doing too well. You're not very intellectual. I don't believe you're that much more intelligent than me, and I don't believe I'm an intelligent person. So that really says something about you. And you're people that, gather in groups and brainstorm these great ideas, supposedly, in commerce, in parliament, wherever. I don't give a fuck. It's just a name. Basically, a group of usually old assholes who have this tendency to believe that they're always right. And, funny thing about that is, no, and there are many examples where you're not right, or not even close. And being old does not mean you're intelligent. Not in the slightest. In fact, if you cling on to this sense of intelligence at an old age and you haven't come to the conclusion that you're not actually particularly bright because you've made so many goddamn mistakes, and even one mistake from one of your pupils is enough to have them expelled, yet you continue to make mistakes, and somehow this all works out. It's like, where in the fuck are you coming from? You have power, sure. You got goons, sure. But are you right? And that's the most important thing. We're supposed to live in a democracy. This is supposed to be civilized society. I am not seeing that. I have seen so many people who are so dumb, you have no idea. And I'm not professing to be a particularly intelligent individual myself. I am merely stating that there are people who are so dumb that, literally, I could get a bag of sand and it would be more intelligent than them. And that actually shivers me to the core, that our elders are as dumb as they are. They're the ones who insist that whatever they do is right. They can't be wrong. And if they're wrong, they cover their tracks. And after all this bunch of bullshit, they still find a way to blame somebody else. And it's like, hold the phone yet again. You fucked up. You're the incompetent. You can't get anything right. How dare you fucking blame the masses for that? No, don't get me wrong. I ain't no Lenin or anything like that. I don't think that way. I don't believe in that sort of ideological belief, even though he'd be, I don't know how many years old now if he were still alive, but, you know, probably well past 100. Definitely. He's got to be. Like, I'm not that interested in the man. In Western media, he's actually portrayed as, he was a man of the time, and, you know, he wasn't such a bad guy, and yada, 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 but it's like the little details, and some people don't believe that, and they're right to do so, but they haven't come out with a better solution, and to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think they're very interested in finding a better solution. I'm not convinced that there is a society out there that knows how to explain things in a perfect manner to their subjects, their citizens, in a way that's at all plausible without causing what I've described before in other videos, globus hystericus, basically global hysteria. Because you'd be surprised. It's so easy to scare the shit out of people, and you don't have to do a damn thing. You don't have to do anything. You just have to go, hey, did you know that cauliflower and broccoli come from the same plant? Like, whoa! I mean, originally, anyway. Mankind has been GMOing for a very long time. So that's actually not news to some people, but there are other people who are, dare I say, incredibly stupid. There are a lot of incredibly stupid people out there, and the powers that be rely on people being stupid. And the best way to keep somebody stupid is to give them a belief and create walls around that belief that inhibit their ability to comprehend anything beyond the closed doors of their belief. And don't get me wrong, that's not necessarily a bad thing, if some people just can't handle the truth, as some famous person said one time. Because there are a lot of people that, oh, gee whiz, what would happen if this stupid mofo found out, well, actually, this xenophobia thing, there's actually a lot of legitimate reasons for having it, and I don't agree with the terminology of what the meaning of that particular word is. I mean, there's certainly no, I'm taking this from a rational standpoint, this country is doing this. They are likely to send spies over here the first chance they get, and we have to trust a crooked government to protect our interests. I don't think there's actually a word for that. I think the first thing that'll happen is someone will come out of the closet and say, You're being a xenophobic. No, actually, you're being a lying asshole who will say anything to preserve what precious little you know. And it's not very much. I'm not like that. You ask me a question, I'll tell you straight up exactly how I feel about something. And that's because, there are people who think beyond the limits of their tiny boxes. And I'm not going to say my box is very big, because it's not. And it's not because the people who have slightly bigger boxes have tried to make it as small as possible so that I know little to nothing. But what they did not expect was the fact that I never really respected them. I never really thought highly of their intelligence. I didn't think they were very good at what they were doing. I could go on and on and on, and it's just like, why bother? Why don't I just push these douchebags out of the way and explain exactly what it is I believe, and we're all holding hands and, crossing borders bullshit hippie, boring ass, lame ass garbage, it, it sounds peachy. Well, if you forget about everything else that happened throughout history, then sure, very peachy. And it's like, well, like, we're trying to turn a new chapter here, man. And it's like, a good thing. And, we believe we have enough supporters in the countries that you're, like, typical xenophobic about. And it's like, I got news for you, you big dumb doofus. You're wrong. They hate you anyway. And from their standpoint, they're actually totally wrong. You kind of get to live a comfortable life. You don't have to feel like a slave. You get fed well. Housing accommodations relatively easy to an extent. You may not, you're not going to get Buckingham Palace, but if you don't try, but you can live somewhat a decent life, and that's just not possible. Do you know how many homeless people I deal with who, based on their ideological beliefs, would in fact have starved to death? In many of these countries, some persons would accuse me of being xenophobic about. Though people would have starved to death. I don't care if you believe it or not, or don't want to acknowledge it, or any of that stuff. You happen to be incorrect. And these places, they got a lot of people in them. Like literally, even the smallest of them has like 3 times as many people as we do. And that means 3 times as many brains. I'm not going to say they work as well. I would like to think, anyway. But some of them have more like 20 times as many people. And, it's just like, if you're going to ignore this problem for long enough, then, maybe you shouldn't be making decisions. In my opinion. Because you might exhibit signs of being a little bit dim-witted. And don't think, because you came from that country, that you're somehow exempt from whatever wrath that they may bring upon the world, and I don't have to lay out enough breadcrumbs to explain exactly what countries in specific I'm talking about. But, yeah, man. They don't actually like you either. They have a tendency to kind of hate everybody all at once somehow. I didn't think it was possible, but it totally is, man. And there's so many people who are, the race has gone on, and they ain't even started their engines yet. They're just sitting there in the dust. And, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They have the most simplistic answer to everything. And the most simplistic answer sometimes is correct. But a lot of the times, it's actually not. And your first response to an answer, or a question, I should say, not always right. It really isn't. Especially if you've been indoctrinated, programmed into a way of thinking where your mind has not developed. And I'm not just talking about the younger people. I'm talking about the older people as well. Where you grew up believing in a set of values that are stupid. We're in the age of COVID and people still cough into their hands, sneezing in their hands. And it's like, excuse me, I find your behavior disgusting, and this is why I find it disgusting. And just because you feel as though you're not been disgusted because 20 years ago people told you that was the right thing to do, doesn't mean that you continue to be correct. It makes you a cunt. A worthless, stupid cunt who should not even I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. But I got a lot of negative opinions about a lot of people, so we'll leave it at that for now. But I will say, I have every single right to say what I've got to say. Supposedly, we live in a country where you can say what you want in certain respects. So long as decent person, you have rationale, and you don't do bad things, then why not share your opinion? Some people don't believe that, though. In fact, a lot of people don't. You're not allowed to say things that unravel and contradict what they're saying. In particular with COVID. Anyway, call it a night and good day.